It was a bitterly cold night on the Trans-Siberian Railway. The snowstorm outside so fierce that it seemed to claw at the windows of the train. The rhythmic clattering of the wheels against the tracks echoed through the carriages, a steady comfort to the passengers as they huddled under blankets or sipped hot tea from small glass holders. The train, known as the Zhivushchaya Strela, the living arrow, was on its way from Moscow to Vladivostok, winding its way through the vast, frozen Siberian wilderness. The passengers were a mix of locals, tourists, and merchants, all bound for different destinations, but united by the warmth of the train against the hostile winter. The storm hit its peak around midnight, obscuring the view outside with thick, swirling snow. As the train plunged deeper into the wilderness, the atmosphere inside remained lively in some cars, quiet in others. In the first-class cabin, a wealthy businessman read a newspaper, while a mother soothed her crying child. In third class, a group of college students laughed and shared stories, their spirits undampened by the weather. At precisely 12:43 a.m., the train jolted violently, causing the lights to flicker. The passengers, startled, looked around nervously, but the train soon steadied. The conductor reassured everyone that it was likely just a minor issue with the tracks due to the snow. The journey resumed its regular pace, the tension fading as quickly as it had come. But then, a horrifying discovery was made. One of the conductors, performing a routine check, found that an entire carriage, the fourth in the lineup, had vanished. The missing carriage had housed 32 passengers, including a young couple on their honeymoon, a group of miners returning home, and an elderly woman traveling to see her grandchildren. Panic spread like wildfire through the remaining carriages. People whispered theories about what could have happened. Could it have been an avalanche? Sabotage? An accident? The train was brought to a halt, and the crew, armed with flashlights and radios, stepped out into the howling blizzard to search for the missing carriage. The tracks stretched endlessly in both directions, covered in fresh snow. There was no sign of derailment, no debris, no evidence that the carriage had ever existed. Desperate, the crew contacted the nearest station to report the incident, but the response was chilling. According to the station logs, the train was already late by 2 hours, and records showed only 7 carriages, not 8, had left the previous station. Among the remaining passengers, stories began to emerge, accounts that were as puzzling as they were unsettling. A woman in second class claimed she had heard muffled screams coming from the direction of the missing carriage shortly before the lights flickered. A man insisted he had seen figures standing in the snow, their silhouettes barely visible in the storm. The students in third class spoke of hearing whispers, though they were sure no one else was nearby. And the elderly woman's grandson, traveling in first class, mentioned that his grandmother had told him of a strange dream she had before boarding the train. In it, she had seen a carriage filled with passengers dressed in old, outdated clothing, beckoning to her. As the hours passed and the train resumed its journey, the passengers began sharing tales of the infamous phantom carriage. According to Siberian folklore, during particularly harsh winters, a ghostly train roams the tracks, claiming victims to join its eternal journey. The legend spoke of passengers disappearing without a trace, their souls bound to the icy wilderness forever. Though dismissed as a mere story by skeptics, the parallels were undeniable. Could the missing carriage have been taken by the phantom carriage? 2 days later, railway officials conducted a thorough investigation, searching every inch of the tracks between the last station and the site of the incident. In a remote section of the route, they found something chilling: footprints leading away from the tracks into the forest, only to stop abruptly, as if the individuals had vanished into thin air. Near the footprints, they discovered an old rusted lamp buried in the snow. The lamp, later examined, was identified as a model used by railway workers over 50 years ago. Even more disturbingly, inside the lamp was a handwritten note that read, "We have joined them. Do not search." The disappearance of the carriage made headlines across Russia, with conspiracy theories running wild. Some speculated it was a cover-up for a government experiment gone wrong. Others believed it was an elaborate hoax designed to draw attention to the struggling railway. Paranormal enthusiasts, of course, latched onto the story, declaring it proof of the phantom carriage's existence. The railway company, however, remained tight-lipped, releasing only a brief statement expressing condolences to the families of the missing passengers and pledging to improve safety measures. No official explanation was ever given. Years later, survivors of that fateful night spoke out. They described an eerie sense of being watched during the storm and a collective feeling of unease that had lingered even after they reached their destinations. One man, who had been seated near the vanished carriage, claimed he sometimes heard faint train whistles in his dreams, accompanied by ghostly voices calling his name. The incident remained an unsolved mystery, A chilling tale whispered among those who braved the Trans-Siberian Railway in the dead of winter. To this day, the truth behind the missing carriage remains buried in the snow, leaving only questions, fear, and the sound of a distant train whistle echoing across the frozen tundra.